Welcome to the Drowsy Science Channel, everyone. We're focusing on the peaceful green creatures that coexist with us tonight. Plants remain still and rooted. However, their lives are filled with unspoken dramas and incredible talents. They can communicate with each other, use odd strategies to protect themselves, and even produce sounds that humans are only now starting to comprehend. They give the earth vitality, and we discover peace and wonder in their company. We tend to ignore them most of the time. We pass meadows, flowers, and trees as if they were ornaments, the background to the more crowded world of people and animals. However, plants are not at all passive. They perceive light and gravity. They keep time. They use covert networks to exchange resources. They also contain memories of change and stress. Their world is much more complicated than we ever thought, and science is only now starting to grasp it. As always, please remember to like, subscribe, or leave a comment below if you want to stray into science and wonder, but for the time being, ignore the day's commotion. Calm down, take a deep breath, and let your thoughts go through the hidden life of plants. Let's get started. Certain plants are able to exchange chemical signals with one another. Though they cannot communicate, plants have their own sort of conversation. Insect bites cause the plant to send chemical signals into the atmosphere, substances that float to plants in the vicinity and alert them to danger. When the neighbors detect this chemical warning, they react by creating toxic or bitter substances that make them difficult to eat. It's as if a forest or meadow is continuously traversed by an unseen network of communications. This is not a species-specific ability. Other trees, shrubs, or even grasses may be able to detect warning signals sent by an attacking tree. The greens of a field may appear quiet to us, yet it is teeming with signals to the plants. They are not lone individuals. Rather, they are part of a sophisticated collective defense mechanism, a chemical dialogue that is taking place in the background. Trees use fungal networks to exchange nutrients underground. Tree roots and fungi form extensive underground webs known as mycorrhizal networks beneath the earth. Trees exchange minerals, carbohydrates, and even chemical messages via these networks. Younger saplings that are struggling in the shadow can receive additional carbon from a large, older tree that has plenty of resources. Healthy neighbors may provide nutrients to sick or injured trees. Researchers have discovered that trees in some forests seem to prefer their own children, giving them more nutrients than they do to unrelated people. Forests operate nearly like a single cooperating organism because of a hidden structure known as the wood wide web. Above ground, trees might seem to be isolated, but underneath, they are interconnected in a continuous flow of life. Every time you go through a forest, keep in mind that thousands of invisible connections are tying the trees together to form a community beneath your feet. Some flowers have the ability to produce heat on their own. Waiting with their petals open is not enough for certain flowers. They warm themselves many degrees above the ambient air by producing their own heat. For instance, in early April, skunk cabbage can melt through snow and produce enough heat to draw pollinators despite the cold. In addition to making the flowers easier for insects to locate, this warmth may also make the plant's aroma more widely dispersed. By producing heat during their evening blooms, some species, such as the gigantic water lily, provide beetles with a warm haven. Energy is needed for this unexpected biological trick, but the reward is a higher likelihood of reproduction. A flower may appear weak and uninteresting to the untrained eye. Some are actually strong, tiny furnaces that defy the laws of nature in order to survive. Even the quietest bloom may be running its own small heater, throbbing with hidden energy in the dark. Roots traverse underground with the aid of a sort of sonar. In the dark, roots develop while looking for nutrients and water. Nevertheless, they find ways around barriers and avoid them. One theory stems from an unexpected finding. As roots spread through the soil, they make soft clicking noises. These clicks seem rhythmic and deliberate, yet they are so faint that they must be picked up by sensitive devices. According to some experts, roots might have a primitive sort of sonar, the ability to sense their own vibrations. In the secret underground realm, roots may be able to navigate more successfully if they pay attention to the echoes of these clicks. Even the ability of roots to grow towards specific sound frequencies has been demonstrated, suggesting a peculiar acoustic sensibility that we do not yet fully comprehend. A sophisticated kind of inquiry could be what appears to be thoughtless growth. There is a secret world of roots soundlessly probing the ground beneath every tree and flower bed. Certain seeds have the ability to grow even after being dormant for thousands of years. Seeds are nature's time capsules. Some can take years or even millennia to come to life, but the majority germinate in a matter of weeks or months. In one amazing instance, a lotus seed that had been buried for more than a millennium was brought back to life by scientists, and it developed into a completely healthy plant. Another study revived an Arctic flower species using seeds frozen in permafrost for tens of thousands of years. In order to accomplish this, seeds go into a dormant condition, enclosing their genetic material in hard shells and essentially stopping their internal chemistry. It enables them to endure ice ages, fires, and droughts until the ideal circumstances arise again. It's incredible how resilient such a small, unassuming box can be. Even if a seed is older than entire civilizations, it still contains the spark of life and patiently awaits its opportunity to sprout. To draw pollinators, the corpse flower emits a rotten flesh odor. The corpse flower, or Titan arum, is well known for its imposing bloom and overpowering odor. Its strong scent, which is uncannily similar to that of rotting meat, is released as it blooms. The flowers selected pollinators, flies, and beetles that typically consume carrion find the scent attractive, despite the fact that it may turn off humans. To better disperse the aroma, the plant even heats itself, simulating the heat of decomposition. It frequently takes years for the bloom to appear, and when it does, it only lasts a few days. People line up to watch and smell the sight, and they come from all over the world to witness it. But for the flower, it's just a matter of strategy. It guarantees life through mimicking death. The corpse flower serves as a reminder that plants may be cunning, playing with animals' perceptions to accomplish reproduction, one of nature's most basic objectives. For tens of thousands of years, certain trees have had the ability to replicate themselves. Large colonies of clones, rather than a single tree, are among the oldest living things on Earth. For instance, the North American quaking aspen can procreate by releasing underground shoots that develop into new trunks. The root system can endure for tens of thousands of years, continuously producing replacements, whereas each trunk may only live for a century or two. Pando, a well-known colony in Utah, is believed to be at least 80,000 years old and spans more than 100 acres. It appears to be a typical aspen forest from the outside. In actuality, all of its trees have the same genetic identity, making it one enormous organism. Clonal colonies like these make it difficult to distinguish between individual and collective life, showing that what appears to be a large number of trees may instead be a single, ancient entity that transcends time. When insects gnaw on a plant's leaves, the plant can detect the vibrations. Despite not having ears, bats are very good at hearing sound. Researchers have discovered that plants can hear the vibrations produced when caterpillars nibble on leaves. In response, the plant begins manufacturing defensive compounds that make its tissues less appealing. Even more amazing is the fact that the plant only responds to the particular patterns connected to chewing, not to all vibrations. The similar reaction is not elicited by light wind or other innocuous movements. This capability implies that plants possess a highly developed sense of their surroundings, identifying dangers through vibrations rather than eyes or ears. Consider a leaf that rapidly prepares its defenses upon hearing the sound of being eaten. It indicates that plants are far more observant than they appear, listening in ways we can scarcely comprehend and always ready to respond to the world around them. We don't know why stressed plants create these weird clicking noises. plants do not remain completely silent when they are under stress. Scientists have captured strong ultrasonic noises from drought-stricken or damaged plants using sensitive microphones. For example, when water-deprived, tobacco and tomato plants generate a lot more of these clicks than when they are healthy. The sounds are inaudible to human ears, yet they become distinct and clear once they are recorded. The cause is still up for discussion. According to some scientists, the clicks are caused by microscopic bubbles that grow and burst inside the plant's water transport system. Others question if they might function as a signal to neighboring plants or even insects. In any case, the finding contradicts our presumptions. Although they may appear silent, plants actually make noises when they are having difficulty. That's an odd and humble idea. The green environment around us may be loaded with small, inaudible messages of stress. Certain desert plants directly absorb water from fog. It takes tremendous ingenuity to survive in deserts where rain is sparse. Certain plants have developed the capacity to absorb moisture straight from the atmosphere. Tiny fog droplets are drawn in by the texture and shape of their leaves or spines. Even when the soil is completely dry, the droplets collect and seep into the plant's roots, giving it much-needed moisture. For instance, the preferred host plant of the Namib desert beetle uses tiny hairs to draw water from evaporating mists. Similar adaptations are used by succulents and cacti, which transform mist and fog into dependable water sources. A desert may appear to us as a desolate region of aridity. However, these plants see every sliver of wetness as a chance. They demonstrate to us that life finds a way even under the most trying circumstances. Drinking the air itself is sometimes the answer. By releasing water vapor into the atmosphere, trees can produce rain. Rainfall does not only fall on forests passively, they contribute to its creation. Trees emit enormous volumes of water vapor into the atmosphere through a process known as transpiration, which occurs through microscopic pores in their leaves. After rising, cooling, and condensing into clouds, this moisture finally returns as rainfall. The effect is so powerful in thick forests like the Amazon that the trees produce their own weather systems. According to some scientists, fertile ecosystems could become arid savannas if enough forest is removed, causing the rains to stop. Consider a canopy as more than just shade the next time you find yourself standing beneath one. It is a living fountain, sending invisible jets of water skyward, recycling rainwater, and changing entire climates. Trees support the environments in which they live by summoning rain rather than just drinking it. Certain orchids fool insects by simulating the smell of female bees. There are orchids that are exceptionally cunning. Chemical compounds that imitate the aroma of female bees are released by them. The familiar scent draws male bees to the blossom, where they try to mate. They complete the reproductive cycle of the orchid by gathering or depositing pollen. Even seasoned bees can be tricked by the mimicry since it is frequently so accurate. The aroma may be subtle or inconspicuous to human noses, yet it is seductive to an insect's highly developed senses. Smell is just one aspect of this type of deception. Additionally, some orchids form their petals to mimic female bug bodies. It's an impressive tactic. These plants ensure their existence by taking advantage of pollinators' instincts without providing nectar in exchange. What appears to be a straightforward flower is actually a crafty illusionist manipulating the animal kingdom's senses. The world's largest living thing is a fungus attached to trees. There is something extraordinary in the Blue Mountains of Oregon. A single living thing covering over 4 square miles. It's a fungus, not a whale or a massive tree. Are the honey fungus, sometimes called Malaria otoya. Its filaments run through the ground below, attaching themselves to the roots of innumerable trees. By some estimations, this one human weighs hundreds of tons and may be thousands of years old. It merely seems like little mushroom clusters sticking out of the woodland floor to the untrained eye. Beneath it, however, lies a vast living web that is silently developing, feeding, and growing. It illustrates how the size of existence isn't always apparent at first glance. Beneath the dirt, something seemingly insignificant could be enormous beyond comprehension. This enormous creature serves as a reminder that woods are multi-layered environments where giants live both above and below ground. Sunflowers track the sun across the sky every day. As the sun passes across the sky, sunflowers are known for their ability to follow it, shifting their faces from east to west. Heliotropism is a phenomenon that helps them get as much light as possible. Particularly active are the young sunflower buds, which turn around overnight to face the sunrise. When fully grown, the flowers typically face east, which helps them warm up faster in the morning sun and draws pollinators. Similar motions are also made by other plants, which change their leaves or blossoms to catch the greatest light at different times of the day. The daily rhythm is so mild that it nearly seems as though the plants are synchronizing with the light. These movements appear unseen to us because they are so sluggish. When accelerated, however, they resemble elegant dances. What seems like calm is in fact a perpetual choreography, led by light as plants extend and bend to follow the sky. In certain areas, plants generate more oxygen than all the ocean algae put together. We frequently hear that a large portion of Earth's oxygen is produced by algae and ocean plankton. On a global level, that is accurate, yet in particular areas, terrestrial plants are the main source of oxygen. Through photosynthesis, massive woods, grasslands, and wetlands release an astounding amount of oxygen into the atmosphere. For instance, the Amazon basin is one of the planet's most significant oxygen providers due to the sheer volume of plant life there. By recycling carbon dioxide into fresh air, this green lung supports not just regional ecosystems, but the entire globe. Terrestrial plants can focus their productivity in remarkable ways, even if seas span a larger area. The oxygen we rely on is created by the silent richness of every tree and blade of grass. The thought that the breath we just took might have been influenced by forests thousands of miles away is humbling. Certain plants are able to withstand total freezing. Plants survive in some of the most hostile situations on the planet, where most other species would perish. For months at a time, some alpine species and Arctic mosses can endure being frozen solid. Lethal ice crystals cannot form inside their cells because of the protecting proteins and carbohydrates they create. They almost immediately come back to life when the thaw arrives, continuing to expand as if nothing had occurred. Some are even immune to harm from repeated freeze-thaw cycles. This skill is a doorway into possible technological advancements, as well as a marvel of adaptation, from safeguarding human tissues in medicine to conserving crops. Despite their delicate appearance, these plants are some of nature's most resilient survivors, flourishing in areas with temperatures well below freezing. Their tenacity serves as a reminder that life can persist in environments that we may consider completely hostile. Cacti require very little water to survive for hundreds of years. The cactus is an expert at surviving in arid environments. Many species may endure months or even years without rain because of their thick, waxy coats and tissues that store water. Despite drought and flood cycles, some huge cacti, such as the saguaro, can last for over 2 centuries. Their shallow root systems spread widely to catch even the tiniest amounts of rain, and their spines limit water loss and offer shade. They become living reservoirs by storing liters of water in their expanding tissues. Because of their tenacity, they are well-known representations of the desert, representing endurance and patience. To stroll among them is to witness a group of silent giants who have mastered the art of gracefully enduring adversity. The cactus continues to thrive in silence, preserving its hidden source of life long after other plants would die. Under the correct circumstances, certain plants have a slight nighttime glow. Although bioluminescence is uncommon in plants, in certain situations, weak glows have been seen. Some plant-related fungi release light, which gives forest floors unsettling green glints. In more recent times, researchers have even used DNA from bioluminescent species to make plants sparkle. Not only do these luminous plants have a mystical appearance, in the future they might be used as natural light sources, which would lessen the demand for energy. Certain plant tissues fluoresce when exposed to ultraviolet light, even in the absence of specially designed traps, exposing patterns that are concealed from view. Imagine strolling through a forest where the leaves, which are like lanterns of living substance, emit a subtle, spectral light. Although there aren't many naturally glowing plants, the occurrence serves as a reminder that life may defy chemistry to create beauty in unexpected ways. In the dark, what appears normal during the day may conceal a subtle glimmer of light. It takes over 1,000 years for lotus seeds to sprout. The holy lotus represents more than just rebirth and purity. It is also among the seeds with the longest lifespan that science has discovered. In one instance, radiocarbon dating revealed that a lotus seed found in a dried lakebed in China was more than 1,000 years old. As if it had just lain dormant for a season, it grew into a robust lotus when planted. The hard protective shell of the seeds and the plant's capacity to almost stop metabolic processes are responsible for its extraordinary longevity. It resembles a lifelong pause button or suspended animation. The seed was lost and buried for ages. It still had the growing spark, though. Every lotus that emerges from such ancient origins carries with it a tale of perseverance over the ages, in addition to its beauty. Certain trees are able to recall droughts and modify their growth accordingly. Tree rings serve as a record of their past. They create thinner rings during dry spells, signifying years of adversity. However, some trees appear to be able to modify their future growth in response to past stress, going beyond simply documenting the past. In the years that follow a drought, they tend to develop more cautiously, hoarding resources as if they were expecting another dry period. Their physiology is altered by this memory, which changes how they use energy and water. The distinction between memory and instinct is blurred in this amazing adaptation. A tree that has been through adversity never forgets. It continues the instruction by forming its survival plan. In this sense, trees represent resiliency throughout decades or even centuries, not simply in the here and now. In addition to wood and bark, every tree trunk contains a history of hardship, adaptability, and silent remembering. When attacked, plants warn their neighbors by releasing toxins. The damage caused by insects chewing on leaves is not ignored. In response, a lot of plants release volatile organic molecules into the atmosphere. Nearby plants are reached by these unseen plumes as they float through the atmosphere. When the neighbors notice the warning, they respond by launching their own defenses and releasing poisonous or bitter substances to ward off herbivores before they attack. According to certain research, plants are able to discriminate between various dangers by sending out distinct signals for aphids and caterpillars. Plants essentially create an invisible communication network that helps entire communities survive by sending distress calls into the atmosphere. Although the air may appear vacant to us, it is actually teeming with chemical conversations, a silent, living code of defenses and warnings that determine the destiny of woods and fields. Some plants have seeds that shoot out like little rockets. Not every plant depends on wind or animals to disperse its seeds. Some people use explosive force to launch them. For instance, when the tukmano plant dries, its seed pods coil with tension. They explode at the slightest touch, launching seeds many meters into the air. Some species, such as the squirting cucumber, create pressure inside their fruit until it explodes, releasing seeds in a liquid spray. Despite its small-scale appearance, this ballistic dispersal is very efficient. These plants make sure that their progeny won't directly compete with them for resources and space by scattering their seeds widely. It serves as a reminder that even in the peaceful realm of plants, unexpected outbursts of motion and energy can occur when one witnesses one of these little explosions. Until the time of release, Every seed launch is a little drama concealed inside a seemingly normal pod. Seawater can have its salt removed by mangrove trees. Along beaches, where most plants would soon wither, mangrove trees flourish. Their tissues stay fresh even though they thrive in brackish, salty water. Mangroves employ amazing adaptations to do this. Certain species only let fresh water into their vascular systems by filtering salt at the root level. Others push too much salt into older leaves, which are then carried away by the falling leaves. Some mangroves even release salt through microscopic holes in their leaves, forming crystals that are visible. Because of this capacity, they are able to establish extensive forests along tropical coastlines, providing vital homes for a wide variety of species, including fish and birds. Although we may think that seawater is an unsuitable habitat for trees, mangroves have made it their home. As living protectors of coastlines, they demonstrate how resilience can turn an uninhabitable region of the Earth into a vibrant ecosystem by using clever biological strategies to fend off salt. Certain carnivorous plants create traps that are packed with digestive juice. In order to augment their diets, carnivorous plants have evolved to eat insects and even small animals. The pitcher plant is among the most remarkable examples. Its leaves fold into slick, deep tubes that hold digestive juice. Once an insect slides inside, it is almost impossible to escape because the rim is frequently slippery or lined with hairs pointing downward. Prey falls in and drowns in the fluid, where it is gradually broken down after being drawn in by vivid colors or nectar. After that, the plant absorbs the nutrients, which gives it an advantage over other plants in nutrient-poor soils. Some tropical species have pitchers that are so big that they can catch tiny mice, lizards, and even frogs. These plants make it difficult to distinguish between active predators and passive vegetation. They serve as a reminder that even in the seemingly benign realm of plants, survival in the natural world can take unexpected forms. Approximately 20% of the oxygen produced worldwide comes from the Amazon jungle. With good cause, the Amazon is frequently referred to as the Earth's lungs. Through photosynthesis, its immense tree and plant life releases a staggering amount of oxygen, roughly 1/5 of the planet's total supply. As part of this global cycle, every tall tree and innumerable understory plants transform carbon dioxide into the fresh air necessary for life. In addition to storing enormous amounts of carbon and recycling rainfall, the Amazon is essential for controlling the climate. Its woodlands are delicate, nevertheless. These delicate equilibria are in danger of being upset by deforestation and climate change, with far-reaching effects. The Amazon is more than just a geographical location when we talk about it. We are discussing a planetary system that gives the world life. Its covered walkways would allow one to enter the Earth's atmosphere's very mechanics. The soil in which some plants are grown affects their flavor. Many plants' flavors are influenced by the soil underneath them as much as by their genes. For instance, the minerals, microorganisms, and moisture content of the soil affect the flavors that grapes cultivated in different areas create. The same grape variety can yield wildly diverse wines depending on where it is grown, a phenomenon known as terroir in winemaking. The flavor and perfume of herbs such as basil, mint, and rosemary can differ according to the kind of soil. The chemistry of their surroundings is reflected even in plants like potatoes and carrots. In reality, there are innumerable minor variants of what appears to be a single species, each influenced by its environment. The mark of the soil it grew in is present in every bite, a reminder that in addition to being living things, plants have a close relationship with the soils and ecosystems that support them. In addition to changing color in the fall, leaves can also change hue in response to stress. Fall is frequently associated with vibrant foliage. However, there are additional reasons why leaves may change their color. Certain plants alter the chemical equilibrium within their leaves in response to stresses, including drought, nutrient deficiencies, or injury. Underlying yellows, oranges, or reds may become visible when the green chlorophyll fades. In other situations, plants purposefully create anthocyanins, which are pigments that protect tissues from sunlight or discourage herbivores. Even in the summer, a plant may appear prematurely autumnal due to these stress-induced color changes. Even though they appear lovely to us, they frequently indicate hardship. The changing colors show that plants are always reacting to their surroundings, changing not simply how they grow but also their chemistry and look. It's possible that an abruptly colored spot in a green field is more than just a seasonal indicator. It can be an indication of a plant's underlying problems. The tallest trees can reach heights greater than 30 stories. The coast redwoods reach astonishing heights in California's foggy forests. At more than 380 feet, the tallest living tree, known as Hyperion, is taller than a 30-story structure. These giants are so tall that the air is thinner, the sun is brighter, and the wind is stronger at the top of their leaves than it is at the bottom. In a biological engineering achievement that challenges the limitations of plant physiology, water must be drawn upward via trunks wider than city roadways. Redwoods are small trees, yet they start from seeds no bigger than a tomato. Their presence serves as a reminder that modest beginnings can lead to remarkable achievements. Standing at the foot of a redwood, looking up till the top of the tree disappears into the fog. It appears to be a living skyscraper, constructed over decades of steady growth rather than steel. In order to attract moths, certain flowers only bloom at night. Not every bloom seeks forth the light. When the air cools and the stars come out, some people save their beauty for the evening and open their petals in the dark. Moths and other nighttime pollinators are drawn to these nocturnal blooms because they frequently emit potent aromas that linger in the quiet night air. At sunset, several species, such as the evening primrose and moonflower, open their blooms, forming spectral forms that appear pale in the moonlight. This tactic exploits pollinators that are only active at night and lessens competition with flowers that bloom during the day. While it may seem wonderful to us, a flower blooming in the light of the stars is actually a useful survival strategy for the plant. It serves as a reminder of the variety of life's cycles. Some plants enjoy the sunshine, but others save their beauty for the peaceful hours when everyone else is asleep. Trees may breathe in marshy soil by growing roots above ground. There is less oxygen in the soil in areas that are flooded or swampy. Many plants grow unique aerial roots that extend beyond the waterline in order to address this issue. For example, mangroves may directly absorb oxygen from the air by sending up structures called pneumatophores that resemble snorkels. For the same reason, bald cypresses have knobby knees that emerge from the water surrounding their stems. Where most trees would suffocate, these modifications allow trees to flourish. Mangroves and cypresses are trees that have conquered both land and water and breathe through roots that appear to contradict their normal function. They serve as a constant reminder that life is incredibly flexible, changing even its most fundamental structures to adapt to the demands of its surroundings. Certain seeds hitchhike on the fur of animals. The ability to hitch a ride is one of the most efficient means of transportation that seeds have developed. Many plants generate seeds that attach to passing animals' fur because they are covered in tiny hooks, barbs, or sticky hairs. As a fox squeezes through shrubs or a deer grazes a meadow, seeds cling to them and travel for miles before finally dropping off in a different spot. Humans are not immune either. The similar technique is used by seeds to adhere to clothing. This tactic increases the likelihood that offspring will survive in unfamiliar situations by dispersing them well beyond the parent plant's shadow. Actually, burr seeds examined under a microscope served as the model for Velcro's design. The ability of plants to move over landscapes without moving is a great evolutionary invention that may look like a bothersome cling to your socks. Some seeds have the ability to float over oceans and still sprout. Some plants use the waves to disperse their seeds rather than the wind or animals. For instance, coconut palms yield buoyant seeds with durable, waterproof shells. These coconuts have the ability to travel thousands of miles through salt water before washing up on far-off beaches and establishing themselves. Other species have seeds with built-in flotation systems, which are natural rafts made for lengthy journeys. Examples of these include mangroves and several legumes. By using this technique, plants can establish themselves on islands that are distant from their natural environments, influencing entire ecosystems. Tiny capsules of life are transported between continents by ocean currents, which act as unseen highways for the spread of plants. It serves as a reminder that beaches serve as portals rather than obstacles, welcoming visitors from far and wide. Each coconut that emerges from a sandy beach is proof of an amazing voyage, a seed that, inside its sealed shell, carried the blueprint for a new tree across an ocean. When touched, the leaves of certain plants fold. Mimosa pudica is a sensitive plant that reacts to touch more powerfully than most others. Its leaves nearly immediately fold inward when stroked, settling into a drooping position. They reopen in a few minutes. Thigonasti is a movement that may be used to frighten herbivores or prevent additional harm. Though frequently more slowly, other plants exhibit comparable touch-sensitive responses, shifting their leaf positions in reaction to contact. The device, which functions similarly to miniature hydraulic systems, depends on quick variations in water pressure inside specific cells. Our typical perception of plants as being unresponsive is challenged when we witness them moving so swiftly and responding as though they are aware of your presence. The abrupt folding of a leaf can be interpreted as an act of intelligence. The plant's sensitivity exposes a remarkable depth of perception in the peaceful lives of greenery, even though we don't fully understand what it feels like. Plants are able to count. It takes 2 touches to break the Venus flytrap. One of the wonders of plant evolution is the Venus flytrap. Sensitive hairs that react to movement line its trap-like leaves. However, a single contact does not cause the plant to close its trap. After roughly 20 seconds of waiting for 2 touches, it snaps shut. By doing this, the plant avoids wasting energy on trash or rain. The capacity to time and count stimuli demonstrates a degree of sophistication that we don't typically connect with plants. The slow decomposition of the captured insect starts when the trap closes, and additional touches cause the release of digestive enzymes. There is more to the Venus flytrap than a mechanical reaction. It is analyzing data and drawing conclusions from input. This small predator makes it difficult to distinguish between the behavior of plants and animals, serving as a reminder that nature's intelligence can take many different forms, some of which are concealed in the corolla swamps. Prior to the emergence of blooming plants, ancient ferns ruled the planet. Ferns dominated the planet long before flowers made the world more colorful. Huge tree ferns and their relatives ruled large marshy forests approximately 100 million years ago during the Carboniferous period. By absorbing enormous volumes of carbon dioxide, these plants contributed to the formation of the coal seams that we still extract today. Ferns are found all throughout the world and thrive in warm, humid settings, with their fronds unfolding in complex spirals. Ferns were the distinctive greens of their era because flowering plants had not yet developed. With thousands of varieties adaptable to deserts, jungles, and even gaps in city sidewalks, ferns continue to be surprisingly successful even now. A fern is a survivor, a lineage that existed before flowers, fruits, and a large portion of the contemporary plant kingdom. Their tenacity is a green echo of past worlds and a living link to Earth's distant past. Depending on the humidity, pine cones open and close. Despite their seemingly static appearance, pine cones are highly sensitive moisture sensors. Their scales spread apart in dry weather, sending seeds into the atmosphere. The scales firmly shut when the humidity increases, shielding the seeds from moisture and rotting. Neither muscles nor nerves are needed for this movement. The structure of the cone tissues, which expand and contract differently when they absorb water, is the only reason it occurs. Certain cones are so delicate that they frequently open and close in response to changing weather conditions. This guarantees that seeds are only released when the tree's environment is conducive to their spread. A pine cone may appear to us as a straightforward forest floor adornment, but each one is a living barometer that discreetly reacts to its surroundings. If you put one indoors, you could observe that it opens and closes in response to changes in the air. It's a natural survival tool. Some trees have red sap that bleeds like blood. Beneath their bark, certain trees conceal a shocking surprise, dazzlingly red sap that resembles blood. When cut or wounded, the bloodwood tree in Australia and the dragon's blood tree in the Socotra Islands both release crimson resin. This sap has been collected for generations for use in ceremonies, medications, and dyes, prized for both its usefulness and its peculiar appearance. It's startling to witness a tree gushing crimson fluid as though the plant kingdom were mimicking the animal kingdom. This vibrant resin, however, is merely a defensive reaction that seals wounds and repels insects or microorganisms. Nevertheless, the striking similarity lends these trees a mythical and enigmatic quality. Observing the red sap dripping onto the ground while standing beneath the tangled branches. It's simple to get the impression that you've entered a fantasy setting where plants dramatically conceal their secrets. Strawberries are not considered berries, but bananas are. Common sense and botanical definitions don't always align. According to science, a fruit that grows from a single ovary and has seeds lodged in its flesh is called a real berry. According to this definition, strawberries are not considered berries, but bananas are. Strawberries are aggregate fruits because they grow from several ovaries in a single bloom. Many people are surprised by this reclassification because bananas don't appear like bars, but strawberries do. Although they aren't always considered berries, tomatoes, kiwis, and even grapes are. The plant kingdom frequently defies our preconceptions, as these classification oddities demonstrate. Structure and development are more important than looks. You will be holding a botanical berry the next time you peel a banana. The strawberries in your bowl are a tiny but pleasant reminder of how plants continually challenge our preconceptions, even though they fall into a whole different category. Caffeine can be released by certain plants to deter other plants. Caffeine isn't only used to wake people up. In nature, it can also function as a chemical weapon. Caffeine is released into the soil by some plants, such as coffee and cocoa, through their fallen leaves or roots. This substance lessens competition for resources by making it more difficult for neighboring plants to germinate. The allelopathy process increases the amount of space and nutrients available to the plants that produce caffeine. Caffeine can also have an impact on insects, disrupting their nervous systems and functioning as a mild insecticide. In a sense, coffee plants use the same molecule to control their surroundings and protect themselves. It's an interesting evolutionary twist that humans later appropriated caffeine for stimulation. It was never about lattes for the plant. It was a matter of survival, adjusting the power dynamics in crowded environments using chemicals. In a day, bamboo may grow about 1 meter. One of the plants that grows the fastest in the world is bamboo. Some species can grow almost 1 meter in a day under the right circumstances. Instead of creating new cells one at a time, specialized tissues that stretch and elongate quickly are responsible for this incredible rate. The end effect is a plant that appears to grow overnight and can reach great heights. Bamboo is a vital resource for building, tools, and even food in many parts of the world. Because of its speed, it may swiftly grow again after harvest, making it a renewable resource. It's easy to picture the ground itself pushing higher when you see bamboo sprouting during a rainstorm. Bamboo is basically a large grass that grows with a vigor that few other plants can equal, despite its tree-like appearance. Its unrelenting ascent is evidence of the plant kingdom's capacity for adaptation. Only once every few decades do certain desert flowers blossom. Some flowers are extremely patient in the most hostile environments on Earth. Some species spend years hidden as seeds, awaiting the infrequent occurrence of both suitable conditions and substantial rainfall. When the time is right, they burst into beautiful carpets of color that blanket otherwise arid terrain. This occurrence, when once syndicated blossoms turn the desert floor into a living mosaic, is termed the flowering desert, or Desierto de Flores, in Chile's Atacama Desert. These fleeting displays fade back into dormancy after just a few weeks. This tactic guarantees the plant's survival by preserving energy until success is most likely. For people who are fortunate enough to see it, the location will never be forgotten. A reminder that beauty and resiliency may be found beneath the surface of even the most lifeless-looking areas, waiting for the ideal opportunity to show. Plants are able to identify their own relatives and develop differently in their presence. Certain plants may discriminate between close relatives and unrelated neighbors, according to research. Some wildflowers, for instance, behave less aggressively when planted among siblings, but grow taller and more competitive when surrounded by strangers. Depending on who is close by, they may modify chemical defenses, leaf spread, or root growth. A level of consciousness that we don't typically associate with plants is suggested by this kin recognition. While still enabling them to outcompete outsiders, it keeps family groups from depleting common resources. How plants do this is still a mystery to scientists, either through subtle clues in light reflection, chemical signals in the soil, or other unnoticed mechanisms. The outcome is obvious regardless of the mechanism. Relatives and strangers are treated differently by plants, which exhibit remarkable discrimination. It serves as a silent green reminder that, even among creatures we once believed were incapable of making such decisions, cooperation and competition frequently coexist. Some trees are resistant to fire and can grow again from ashes. For many trees, fire marks the start of regrowth rather than their demise. Thick bark has evolved in species like eucalyptus, sequoias, and some oaks to shield their live tissues from fire. Others have dormant buds deep in their roots or under their bark that will sprout after the fire is extinguished. In reality, some trees depend on fire to break open their seed coverings and initiate germination. Fire is not only destructive, it may also recycle nutrients, eliminate competitors, and create new growth areas. Resilience inscribed in the language of fire is evident when one strolls through a burned forest and notices new green growth sprouting from charred trees. These trees demonstrate that even in the face of destruction, rebirth is always possible by incorporating flames into their life cycle and not just surviving it. In waterlogged soil, some roots climb upward in quest of oxygen. There is a shortage of oxygen below in swampy or wet areas. In order to adapt, certain trees and plants develop pneumatophores, which are specialized roots that extend upward rather than downward. The plant can directly receive oxygen from the air thanks to these aerial roots, which emerge from the earth like snorkels. For example, mangroves produce thick forests of living roots. In otherwise suffocating mud, they are each a lifeline. In North America, bald cypress trees develop characteristic knees around their trunks, believed to have a comparable function. Because of these modifications, plants can flourish in wetlands where regular roots would be suffocated. An ingenious solution to a hidden problem can be found in what appears to be a tangle of twisted, exposed wood. Getting air in flooded environments. It serves as a reminder that rethinking even the most fundamental growth principles is frequently necessary for survival. Carbon dioxide is inhaled through microscopic pores in leaves. Under a microscope, a leaf's seemingly smooth surface is actually covered in hundreds of microscopic holes known as stomata. To let carbon dioxide enter for photosynthesis, these pores open and close like mouths. They simultaneously emit water vapor and oxygen, which aids in controlling the plant's hydration and temperature. These pores have precisely calibrated mobility that reacts to internal chemical cues, as well as light and humidity. Plants couldn't absorb carbon or release the oxygen we need if they didn't have stomata. Innumerable invisible holes in the leaves surrounding us are connected to every breath we take. The fact that minuscule pores are responsible for the whole equilibrium of Earth's atmosphere is astounding. They are so tiny that they are not visible to the human eye, but there are so many that they cover the Earth like a living layer of breath. Some plants use forceful pollen ejection to get to pollinators. Pollination is not usually a gentle process. Some plants produce pollen in explosive spurts that launch it onto passing insects. For example, pollen packages are frequently snapped onto a pollinator's body by orchids using spring-loaded mechanisms. The slightest touch causes clouds of pollen to fly from other plants when their anthers become tense. By adhering to the pollinator before it can flee, this explosive technique guarantees that pollen is distributed effectively. The event could be shocking to a moth or bee. A flower might be motionless one moment and then unleash a payload the next. It's a clever strategy to increase the plant's chances of successful reproduction. What we see as peaceful flowers are frequently actually energy-coiled equipment that is only waiting for the right time to release. Flowers are engineers of motion, timing, and accuracy, even in their subdued beauty. The tiniest seeds in the world, like dust, are produced by orchids. In addition to their famed beauty, orchids are noteworthy for their seeds. Every seed is so tiny and light that it seems like a dust particle. Orchid seeds have nearly no stored nutrients, in contrast to other seeds. Rather, they depend on the soil's symbiotic fungi to supply the materials required for germination. Because of this collaboration, orchids can simultaneously create thousands or even millions of seeds that are dispersed by the wind. They can travel long distances because of their tiny size, establishing new settings that are far from the parent plant. An orchid seed is almost undetectable to the unaided eye. However, it has the capacity to produce one of the planet's most delicate and exquisite flowers. This tactic, which yields a large number of small seeds and relies on fungi and chance, demonstrates how willing nature is to try new things. By generating antifreeze proteins, certain trees maintain their leaves throughout the year. Most trees in colder climates lose their leaves in order to survive the winter. Evergreens, such as spruces and pines, employ a different tactic. In order to stop ice crystals from developing inside their cells, they create certain proteins that function similarly to antifreeze. This adaptability enables them to stay green despite snow and frost, especially when combined with waxy coatings and needle-like leaves that minimize water loss. They may photosynthesize whenever conditions allow, even during the coldest months, because they maintain their leaves throughout the year. We see dark green needles against white snow as a timeless representation of perseverance. Life is able to withstand the icy grasp of winter because of chemistry that has been homegrown over millennia. Every evergreen forest serves as a living example of how plants defy the laws of survival by retaining their leaves after everyone else has fallen. Photosynthesis was developed by plants around 2 billion years ago. More than 2 billion years ago, ancient plants and their microbial predecessors created photosynthesis, the process that powers almost all life on Earth. These creatures changed the globe by absorbing sunlight and using it to convert water and carbon dioxide into carbohydrates. Animal life was made possible by the oxygen they released building up in the atmosphere. There was hardly any oxygen in the Earth's skies prior to photosynthesis. They were then irrevocably altered. We can trace that old ingenuity down to every breath we take. All around us now, photosynthesis is still going on in leaves, algae, and cyanobacteria, subtly maintaining the equilibrium of energy and air. A patch of green may be simple to ignore, but it contains the same mechanism that changed the entire planet. Instead of merely adapting to their surroundings, plants transformed them, establishing the circumstances necessary for the existence of life as we know it today. Trees in the Amazon emit clouds of aromatic compounds. Numerous plants and trees in the Amazon rainforest emit volatile organic chemicals into the atmosphere. These unseen substances have a variety of uses: shielding leaves from sun and heat, drawing pollinators, or discouraging herbivores. They produce the distinctive scent of the forest, a complex blend of aromas that lingers above the canopy when present in high concentrations. However, these emissions do more than only influence odor. They interact with atmospheric particles that affect rainfall and cloud formation. To put it another way, the Amazon modifies and permeates the air above it in addition to breathing oxygen. It becomes evident how much plants influence their surroundings when one is standing in a forest like this, encircled by invisible chemical plumes. They are active engineers of the air, water, and climate, rather than passive inhabitants of the planet. They produce invisible clouds that rise from their leaves like breath. Some vines use their sense of touch to climb. Vines thrive on light, but many of them look for support rather than standing up on their own. They accomplish this by extending their tendrils, which are delicate projections that waver until they come into contact with a solid object. The tendril is tightly wound around the support when contact occurs, because the cells on the contacted side elongate while the cells on the other side develop more slowly. The vine gains a foothold as a result, enabling it to ascend toward the canopy. Certain species are even able to discriminate between smooth and rough surfaces, favoring the textures that provide the greatest traction. It appears to us to be a slow embrace, but it's survival for the vine. A gradual ascent to the light. It's like seeing contact turn into growth as you watch a tendril wind around a pole or tree branch. Evidence that plants have an almost exploratory sense of their surroundings. Thousands of species can coexist with a single oak tree. An oak tree is more than a single living thing. This ecology is thriving. Insects, squirrels, and birds all call its branches home. Its bark provides cover for lichens, mosses, and fungi. Its roots link to extensive fungal networks beneath the earth, which provide food for innumerable microorganisms. According to studies, a mature oak tree may sustain thousands of species simultaneously, ranging from huge mammals to the tiniest mites. Every season adds a new dimension to life: acorns for animals, flowers for pollinators, and falling leaves that improve the soil. An entire community is held together by the oak's size and longevity, making it a foundation species. It is amazing to know how many people depend on such a tree and how much history it has witnessed while standing beneath it. A full living web made of wood and leaves that has been woven over ages must be preserved in order to preserve an oak. To get more sunshine, some plants develop translucent leaves. Certain plants have developed translucent or even transparent leaves that function as windows of natural light, although most leaves are opaque. Because of this adaptability, sunlight can reach lower tissues that would normally be shaded and penetrate deeper into the plant. The window plant Liops, a desert-dwelling succulent, is one example. Only the translucent tops of its leaves are visible. The majority of the leaves are submerged underneath. These windows allow light to penetrate and safely reach the photosynthetic tissues beneath the soil, shielding them from grazing animals and intense heat. Similar strategies are employed by other plants to make efficient use of each photon in dense woods with limited light. The distinction between a plant and a crystal is blurred by transparent leaves, which allow sunlight to enter their bodies and sparkle. It serves as a subdued reminder that a leaf's structure and form can serve as an intricate survival tactic. In urban areas, trees grow more quickly, yet die younger. Urban settings provide trees with unique conditions. City trees typically grow more quickly than their forest counterparts due to increased carbon dioxide levels, warmer temperatures, and frequently an abundance of water from irrigation. They mature earlier, add more rings annually, and generate more leaves. However, there is a price for this faster expansion. Their lifespans are drastically shortened by the strains of heat, compacted soil, pollution, and space constraints. A tree in a forest may live for centuries, whereas a tree in a city might only live for a few decades. City trees are important because they cool roadways, filter the air, and give wildlife a place to dwell, even though their lifespans are shorter. Each one grows swiftly to satisfy human needs and is a diligent ally in the urban landscape. Their shorter lifespans serve as a reminder of the trade-offs associated with living in human-dominated environments, when longevity is sacrificed for speed in order to survive. As water flows through leaves, small electric fields may be produced. Through a system of tiny tubes, water rises from the roots inside each leaf. This water generates weak electrical charges as it flows. The leaf is surrounded by a tiny electric field as a result. We can't see these fields because they're so feeble, but bees can. According to research, bees can detect the electric charges on flowers and use that information to estimate how recently a bloom has been visited. Its communication with pollinators thus includes advanced electrical activity. The idea that the rustle of leaves is both physical and electrical, sending unseen impulses into the atmosphere, is astounding. Physics is at work on what appears to be a straightforward green surface, directing interactions between insects and plants. Water, light, and electricity all intertwine in each leaf, transforming silent growth into a secret language of charges and fields. Some desert plants have enlarged stems or roots that store water. Survival in deserts depends on clinging to water when it comes. Thickened stems, trunks, or roots that serve as reservoirs have evolved in many plants. In their soft tissues, cacti store water, which they then gradually deplete during dry spells and expand after rain. Certain trees, such as the baobab, have the ability to expand their trunks by thousands of liters of water, transforming them into natural systems. Some desert plants grow enormous tubers underground that act as secret wells. Because of these adaptations, they can withstand dry spells of months or years and remain green when everything else has wilted. As people have learned to draw from these water reserves in times of need, they have also occasionally meant survival to humans. Every swelled stem or root is evidence of preparation and patience, demonstrating that longevity in the desert is based on meticulous preservation, drop by drop, kept in living tissue vaults. The Rafflesia bloom has a maximum diameter of 3 feet. The Rafflesia flower appears like something out of another universe, hidden amid Southeast Asian jungles. It is one of the biggest flowers on the planet, with petals that can reach over 3 feet. Its reddish patterned surface gives it the appearance of raw meat, and pollinating flies are drawn to its rotting flesh-like fragrance. Rafflesia does not have its own roots, leaves, or stems. Rather, it inhabits host vines as a parasite, consuming nutrients until it explodes in a massive bloom. The flower is uncommon and fleeting. It may only bloom once every few years. The scene is unforgettable to those who see it. One flower, bigger than a dinner table, with a decaying odor, but only for the sake of reproduction. Rafflesia challenges our preconceived notions about what a flower may be by reminding us that they can be just as strange and dramatic as any other creature. For years, several mosses may endure total dehydration. One of nature's most resilient organisms is the moss. Some organisms can survive despite losing almost all of their water and drying out almost entirely. Their metabolism reduces to almost nothing in this dehydrated state. Years later, they come back to life in a matter of hours with a little rain, unfurling and becoming green once more. Protective proteins and carbohydrates that prevent cell damage during dehydration provide this remarkable resilience. Few other plants can survive in the extreme conditions that these mosses may invade: dry deserts, rocky cliffs, and even the exteriors of historic structures. They are forerunners, creating the foundation for future life. Resurrection in miniature can be seen when a patch of moss turns from dead brown to vibrant green after a rainstorm. Moss demonstrates to us how resilient life can be, even when it is quiet and modest. Trees can fold their branches slightly downward to sleep at night. A startling discovery has been made by recent laser scanning investigations. Overnight, many trees shift positions. The twilight causes their branches and leaves to droop a little, but the dawn light causes them to rise once again. Though usually only a few centimeters, the movement is steady. Researchers believe that the plant's internal water systems may be reset or energy may be conserved by this nighttime nap. It displays the impact of circadian rhythms, which are internal clocks that control a variety of plant functions. To visualize a whole forest gradually lowering itself at night is to catch a peek of an additional layer of vegetation that is not visible to the naked eye. They move silently in the dark as we sleep. Their branches re-emerge to face the sun in the morning. It's a soft rhythm that echoes the natural world's life cycles. Lava fields and volcanic ash are ideal habitats for several plants. Covered in ash and hardened lava, the area appears dead and arid following a volcanic eruption. However, plants start to reappear after a few years. Certain plants can establish roots in unstable, low-nutrient soils because they are uniquely suited to these circumstances. Hardy grasses, ferns, and lichens are examples of pioneer plants that clear the path for others by adding organic matter and breaking down rock. For instance, ohia plants, which produce vivid red blossoms against black rock, are frequently the first to settle amid newly formed lava flows in Hawaii. Eventually, volcanic soils rank among the world's most productive, sustaining agriculture and verdant forests. The plants that grow here serve as a reminder that sometimes the seeds of rebirth can come from destruction. They are the epitome of tenacity, converting devastation into life and fire and stone into gardens. Depending on the circumstances, certain plants can change their sex. Many plants do not have fixed sex. Certain organisms have the ability to change their gender based on their surroundings. In order to save energy by skipping the expensive process of developing seeds, certain trees may only produce pollen when resources are limited. The same tree may resume fruit and seed production when conditions improve. Other plants undergo seasonal changes or even undergo several life transitions. This adaptability improves the chances of reproduction regardless of obstacles. It demonstrates that, contrary to what we might anticipate from fixed categories, sex in plants is a survival strategy influenced by environmental demands rather than a hard identity. Adaptability is a natural trait. Vance shows that intelligently adapting to the changing rhythms of their environment is just as important to reproduction as perseverance. Some trees release toxic sap that can cause skin blisters. The glossy leaves and tiny apple-like fruits of the manchineel tree, which grows in regions of the Caribbean and Central America, give it a deceptively attractive appearance. However, almost all of it is extremely poisonous. Strong compounds found in its sap have the potential to burn skin blisteringly. Because water droplets containing sap can induce unpleasant reactions, it can even be dangerous to stand beneath the tree when it is raining. When its wood is burned, fumes are released that might harm the lungs. To deter humans, manional trees are frequently painted red or adorned with warning notices. Notwithstanding their risks, these trees help stabilize coastal soils and offer animal refuge. They serve as a sobering reminder that danger can be concealed by beauty. Furthermore, defense mechanisms in the kingdom of plants can occasionally be concealed in plain sight and can be just as spectacular as those in the animal kingdom. Over 1/3 of the territory on Earth was originally grassland. Grasslands covered continents before cultivation and urbanization became commonplace. Large herds of grazing animals and innumerable other species were sustained by prairies, savannas, and steppes. In the past, these ecosystems occupied over 1/3 of the planet's land area. Many meadows are either fragmented or plowed under. However, they continue to be essential. With their extensive root systems, grasslands store a great deal of carbon, frequently more than comparable-sized forests. They also control water cycles, lessen erosion, and stabilize soils. Grasslands are vital habitats for many species, including migrating birds, bison, and elephants. We frequently envision woods or oceans when we think of ecosystems. However, grasses have quietly transformed the world. They demonstrate to us that prosperity in life doesn't always blossom. At times it spreads widely and low, enveloping the planet like a living green skin. Natural latex or rubber is produced by certain plants. Humans relied on plants for rubber before the invention of synthetic materials. Latex, a milky substance that is treated to become elastic and long-lasting, is produced by species such as the para rubber tree. Everything from medical gloves to tires has required this natural substance. Alternative sources of rubber include other plants that also generate latex, like guayule and dandelions. Latex is the plant's defense mechanism. The sticky fluid's bitter or toxic chemicals repel insects and seal wounds caused by injured tissue. Latex is a resource that we can use in many ways. It provides protection for plants. You are witnessing the same chemical defense that gave rise to entire companies the next time you see a dandelion snap and discharge a drop of milky sap. Rubber is not solely a factory product. It starts off as a basic survival tactic that travels through the veins of plants. Ancient air bubbles can be trapped inside amber by trees. Insects, leaves, and other remnants of ancient life are frequently preserved in amber, the fossilized resin of old trees. However, researchers have also discovered microscopic air bubbles that have been locked off for millions of years inside the hardened resin. These pockets provide hints about the ancient environment of Earth by capturing the atmosphere as it was. Researchers can determine the makeup of the air in deep time by examining the gases in amber. For instance, how much carbon dioxide and oxygen were present around the dinosaurs. The idea that trees may build time capsules of the very breath of old worlds by merely emitting sticky resin is astounding. Each amber item is more than just a gemstone. It contains echoes of woods that disappeared long before people existed, preserving the Earth's atmosphere in a record of golden light. The leaves of several aquatic plants are totally water repellent. The surfaces of lotus leaves and water lilies appear nearly magical. Water droplets roll off and bead up, leaving the surface completely dry. The lotus effect is a phenomenon caused by microscopic features on the leaf that stop water from spreading. The droplets keep the leaves clean by collecting dust and debris as they roll. By lowering the chance of fungal infections and guaranteeing that sunlight reaches the photosynthetic tissues below, this adaptation aids in the survival of aquatic plants. Even human technology has been influenced by the phenomenon, producing self-cleaning materials and water-repellent coatings. It appears to us to be a straightforward natural trick. It provides a means of life for the plant, allowing it to remain dry and clean when afloat in aquatic environments. The unexpected elegance of the combination of biology and physics is demonstrated by a single leaf glittering with flawless droplets. During pollination, some flowers have the ability to shoot insects into the air. Pollination is not a passive process in certain plants. For instance, the petals of the mountain laurel resemble small catapults. The petals release tension as an insect lands on the flower, causing the bug to be flung outward and covered in pollen. The pollen is subsequently carried to the following bloom by the startled pollinator. Similar spring-loaded systems are used by other species to guarantee forceful and accurate pollen transport. Flowers may appear fragile to us, yet beneath their petals is architecture that stores energy until the perfect time. Pollination may be both cooperative and surprising, as seen by the sight of an insect being thrown off a bloom. Although they may not move as swiftly as mammals, plants have perfected motion in unexpected abrupt bursts, ensuring that reproduction is never left to chance. Certain plants and fungi have symbiotic relationships and share light energy. Although the majority of plant-fungi symbioses require soil nutrients, researchers have found species that genuinely share light energy. Some fungi that inhabit plant tissues have the ability to absorb light and give some of its energy to their hosts. In exchange, the plant provides the fungi with sugars that they are unable to produce on their own. By transforming two radically different creatures into partners in energy collection, this unique collaboration increases the potential of photosynthesis. Researchers are currently figuring out how prevalent this phenomenon might be, as the discovery was made recently. It calls into question our tidy classifications of life, demonstrating that the line separating fungi from plants is not as sharp as we previously believed. The green world isn't always operating alone. It is collaborating with unidentified partners and combining skills in ways that increase survival chances. Similar to natural sound barriers, bamboo forests can lessen noise pollution. Bamboo's thick, hollow stalks produce more than simply shade and vegetation. Bamboo forests naturally absorb noise when planted in dense groves. Road and urban noise is lessened by the hollow stem's ability to disperse and muffle sound waves. Because of this, bamboo is a useful material for urban design, and it is occasionally utilized to form live noise barriers. Bamboo woods are known for their acoustic qualities, but they also stabilize soil, stop erosion, and offer habitat to a wide variety of species. Entering such a grove is like entering a peaceful realm. The sounds outside fade into a peaceful hush, and the air feels still. It serves as a reminder that plants influence a landscape soundscape in addition to its appearance. In addition to growing, bamboo changes the surroundings by establishing peaceful retreats in the middle of chaos. Only after passing through an animal's digestive tract can certain seeds begin to sprout. Some plants rely on an unusual journey to survive. Their seeds are intended for consumption by animals, where they pass through digestive systems undamaged and end up somewhere else. Stomach acids prepare the seed to sprout by softening or scarring its tough seed covering. Endozookery is a mechanism that guarantees seeds are dispersed far from the parent plant and frequently has the extra advantage of being deposited in droppings that are rich in nutrients. For this reason, many of the fruits we eat, such as cherries and berries, have evolved to draw in animals. This alliance, which offers meals in exchange for transportation, is inscribed in sweetness and color. Fruit is nourishing to us. Using animals as messengers in a life cycle that has been going on for millions of years, it is a ticket to fresh territory for the plant. Near the South Pole, there used to be ancient trees. Millions of years ago, Antarctica was covered with beautiful woods. Today, it is a frozen desert. Giant trees, including those related to modern conifers, previously flourished close to the South Pole, according to fossil evidence. These trees adapted to harsh light cycles by enduring months of uninterrupted daylight in the summer and months of darkness in the winter. Some would have formed ecosystems where dinosaurs wandered amid the trunks, growing in dense stands akin to contemporary boreal forests. These forests vanished, leaving behind just petrified remnants when the climate changed and ice took control. The echoes of a world that has vanished, a continent that was once lush, vibrant and green, are visible when one walks among Antarctic fossils. The finding serves as a reminder that the ecosystems and climate of Earth have always changed. It's possible that trees and life once flourished in even the coldest, most desolate environments. Certain plants produce poisonous fruits that can kill huge animals. Not every fruit is intended for consumption. Some are strong defenses that pass for food. The Southeast Asian pom-pom tree yields big, eye-catching fruits that are packed with substances that are lethal to both people and animals. One of the most infamous poisons in history can be found in the seeds of the strychnine tree. Only the appropriate animals, often specialized species that can withstand the toxins, act as dispersers thanks to these poisonous fruits. Others only act as a deterrent, preventing the plant from being bared. Fruit frequently connotes sweetness and sustenance to us. However, in nature, it is a tactic that can be a trap or bait. Toxic fruits serve as a reminder that in the silent arms race between plants and animals, chemistry is just as powerful as teeth and claws, and that beauty may be a mask for danger. In the summer, leaves can angle themselves to prevent overheating. The leaves do more than simply sit in the light. To lessen heat stress, many plants actively change their orientation. To reduce the area directly exposed, leaves may droop downward or tilt sideways in strong sunlight. The leaves of some species, such as the prayer plant, are raised at night and lowered during the day. Plants can minimize water loss through evaporation and avoid scorching by regulating their angle. In real time, the movement is barely perceptible, but when accelerated, it seems like a lovely, everyday dance. This adaptability shows how sensitive plants are to their surroundings. A forest canopy is more than just a flat expanse of greenery. The mosaic is changing. Light, heat, and water are all balanced by each leaf. As plants constantly find the ideal angle to survive, the canopy is alive with silent motion even in calm air. Certain plants constantly grow their roots downward because they sense gravity. Seeds are able to distinguish between up and down even in complete darkness. Statoliths are small, compact structures found in specialized cells that allow plants to feel gravity. These particles indicate the direction of gravity as they settle inside the cell. To ensure that the plant is properly oriented, roots respond by growing downward and shoots grow upward. Even in perplexing circumstances, seedlings can push through soil in the proper direction thanks to a technique called gravitropism. Without it, the roots may grow upward or sideways, making it difficult for the plant to absorb water or anchor itself. Although it appears automatic to humans, it is actually a highly developed biological compass. Every root tip buried in the dark continuously tracks its location in the Earth's pole. This serves as a reminder that plants are not mindless explorers. They are navigators who follow forces we hardly ever think about. In their rings, some trees retain a recollection of lightning strikes. The energy from lightning strikes can leave a tree permanently scarred. The extreme heat and force frequently cause wounds that change the way the tree grows by damaging the tissues beneath the bark. The wounds are visible in cross-sections long after the strike, serving as enduring reminders as the tree grows new rings every year. By analyzing tree rings, scientists known as dendrochronologists are able to pinpoint similar occurrences centuries later and piece together a region's storm history. Some trees even bear several scars in their wood after surviving multiple lightning strikes. It's simple to ignore these obscure histories when you're standing in a forest. However, within the silent layers of growth, each stem may have records of lightning, drought, and fire. Trees are more than simply timekeepers. In rings of live wood, they serve as archives, holding tales of the sky itself. When grass is chopped, it may emit a distressing odor. It's not just humans that like the crisp green smell of newly mowed grass. The cry is chemical. Green leaf volatiles are volatile substances released by injured grass. These compounds aid in the plant's self-defense by discouraging herbivores and even drawing in insect predators. They might also act as alerts to nearby plants, telling them to strengthen their defenses. We associate the scent with fields in the country or with summer lawns. However, it is a consequence of harm to the grass. What we think is a cool scent is actually a silent alarm system floating through the atmosphere. It serves as a reminder that even the most recognizable smells can have deeper significance, and that plants are always reacting to their surroundings by sending out signals that people hardly ever notice. Some desert plants have silvery hairs that reflect sunlight. Certain plants protect themselves from heat in sweltering deserts by covering their leaves with tiny silvery hairs. These hairs trap a thin layer of colder air close to the leaf surface and reflect sunlight, lowering the amount of heat absorbed. This shimmering armor makes plants like desert lavender and sagebrush appear silver or pale in the scorching sun. In addition to preventing overheating, the adaptation lowers water loss, which is essential for surviving in arid regions. We think the silvery shine is lovely, casting a spectral light across the desert. However, it is insulation that saves the plant's life. These adaptations serve as a reminder that even the slightest aspects can determine survival. Together, they withstand a world of extremes, from a leaf's angle to the hairs on its surface. Some plants can yield hundreds of pounds of tasty roots. Some plants have subsurface resources that are immense. Large quantities of starch can be stored by the remarkable growth of yams, cassava, and other root crops. Giant yams, which can feed entire families for weeks, have been known to weigh hundreds of pounds in some parts of Africa. The plant uses these enlarged roots as food stores to withstand droughts and seasonal fluctuations. They are now staple crops for humans, supporting millions of people worldwide. Finding a buried boulder, a mass of nourishment concealed in the soil, can be likened to excavating such a root. These plants demonstrate how life stores nutrients underground in anticipation of scarcity. The plant not only survives, but also provides food for innumerable human groups that have mastered the art of growing and harvesting these enormous, life-giving roots. Chemicals released by trees can impede the growth of rivals. Not every plant is cooperative. Certain trees discharge substances into the soil that hinder or stop the growth of species that are close by. By lessening competition, this allopathic mechanism aids the tree in securing nutrients. Juglone, a substance produced by black walnut trees, is well known for preventing the growth of numerous plants in their shade. More water and nutrients are guaranteed for the walnut. It can harm nearby plants without warning. These chemical tactics determine which species survive and which do not, reshaping entire fields and forests. What appears to be harmonious tree coexistence is frequently a battleground for invisible pollutants. Humbling is the lesson. Competition is intense even in a forest's calm, and the chemistry between roots and leaves can occasionally determine survival. There are flowers that only blossom once in a person's lifetime. Plants that conserve energy for decades and only bloom once before dying are some of the most striking examples. Agaves americana, century-old plants, store energy in their thick leaves for years. When it does bloom, it puts up a tall, blossom-covered stalk that can grow more than 20 feet. The plant dies after this one amazing event, leaving behind offsets or seeds to continue its ancestry. Some plants, such as some bamboos, only bloom once every several decades or even centuries, and they frequently do so simultaneously throughout whole regions. It is uncommon to see such a bloom, a brief glimpse into a plant's secret schedule. The plan guarantees that the plant will maximize its efforts when it does blossom. It serves as a reminder to us that timing and patience are ingrained in nature, often on a scale that is far larger than the human lifespan. Among the first plants to settle on Earth were mosses. The Earth's landmasses were naked rock hundreds of millions of years ago, beaten by rain and wind. Mosses and their relatives were the first pioneers to claim this new land. These basic plants, devoid of roots, blooms, or seeds, disperse over moist surfaces, gradually dissolving stone and forming the first soils. Mosses prepared the way for larger plants and ultimately entire ecosystems by retaining moisture and contributing organic matter. They still flourish today on icy tundra, rooftops, and cliffs where few other plants can. Their past matches their tenacity. Relatives of the plants that enabled life on land are seen when a patch of moss glows green after rain. Their tiny, delicate shapes tell the tale of Earth's dramatic change from a desolate planet to one that is teeming with crops, forests, and life. As they mature, certain plants' leaves change shape. Throughout their lives, several plants change the shape of their leaves. Rather, as they age, their leaves undergo a radical alteration known as heteroblasty. For example, eucalyptus trees have round, opposed leaves at first, which eventually change to long, narrow, alternating leaves as the tree ages. As they ascend, Passion flower vines also change the shape of their leaves, occasionally producing multiple different forms on a single plant. Changing requirements are typically reflected in these adjustments. While adult plants maximize their efficiency higher up, young plants could require more light capture near the ground. Herbivores may be discouraged by leaf alterations, which make it more difficult for them to focus on a single shape. Seeing a single plant go through several disguises during its life is an example of Gloop's adaptation in action. As it develops, the plant seems to rewrite its own identity, demonstrating that even something as basic as a leaf is always changing. More carbon can be stored by certain trees than by whole forests of smaller plants. Not every tree has the same effect. The enormous trunks and branches of some species, especially huge tropical trees, contain astounding amounts of carbon. More carbon can be stored by a single mature tree than by a whole stand of lesser trees. These giants are frequently centuries old in rainforests, and their development is a reflection of centuries' worth of atmospheric carbon dioxide being trapped. The impact on carbon storage and the ecosystems it supports is enormous if even one is lost. Entire networks of life, including insects, birds, and mammals, rely on these giants for survival, so safeguarding them is essential. You're looking at more than just a plant when you're standing beneath one of these enormous trees. You are witnessing a live climate regulator, a vast carbon storage. They are neither simple nor inspiringly large. It is essential to maintaining the Earth's equilibrium. Plants are able to sense wind direction and modify their development. In the presence of wind, plants do not remain motionless. Many have the ability to feel the force and direction of airflow, which allows them to modify their growth. Strong winds cause stems to thicken and shorten, which increases stability. While some leaves flutter to prevent harm, others reposition themselves to lessen drag. These reactions are controlled by mechanical cues, which are small pressure and bending changes that cause growth hormones to change. The plant eventually adopts a form that is appropriate for its windy surroundings. This skill is particularly important in areas with continuous exposure, such as broad fields, mountains, and coasts. Although wind in trees may appear to us to be random movement, it is actually information that helps plants make decisions about their growth at every stage. A subtle intelligence is concealed in their bending and swaying, modifying their shape to withstand the unseen forces that constantly exert pressure on them. Some desert plants have roots that reach deeper than a 10-story structure. Some plants delve incredibly deep in arid environments with little surface water. For instance, the roots of mosquito trees can be found more than 150 feet below the surface, which is deeper than the height of a 10-story structure. By drawing on subterranean aquifers, these roots enable the tree to thrive in areas where the surface appears to be bare. Additionally, the tree is anchored against erosion and storms at this depth, making uprooting it all but impossible. It is a new perspective on the desert to think of roots reaching that far into the blackness. The true tree is the extensive network underground, as well as what is visible above ground. As demonstrated by these deeply ingrained plants, survival frequently hinges on invisible perseverance, reaching for undiscovered resources to support life in the face of adversity. Walking palm trees are found in the Amazon, and they travel slowly through the forest. The wandering palm has a curious reputation in the Amazon rainforest. Local law states that it can walk by allowing older roots to die off and developing new ones in the direction of the sun. This slow process could move the tree a few centimeters or even a few meters over the course of years. The adaptation undoubtedly aids the tree in adapting to changing light in the dense canopy, even though scientists disagree about the extent of actual movement. Though it may seem like fiction, the image of a tree squeezing through the forest is a reality. Plants are not as firmly anchored in situ as we think. They may react to opportunities and locate light where they need it most by making small modifications. Even rooted creatures can climb for new heights, as the walking palm serves as a reminder. Only after the soil has been scorched by fire do some seeds grow. Fire is a signal rather than a threat to certain plants. Until they are exposed to the heat or chemicals created by wildfire, some seeds in habitats such as pinewoods and chaparrals stay dormant. The smoke contains chemicals that promote germination, or the flames break through hard seed coatings. Because of this adaptability, there is less competition from other plants as seedlings grow in the nutrient-rich ash beds that are left behind. Fire becomes a vital component of these ecosystems' cycle of renewal rather than destroying it. You can observe how resilient nature is when you see fresh green shoots emerging from scorched dirt, plants that need to be destroyed in order to grow anew. Their approach weaves fire into the fabric of life, turning disaster into opportunity. Without being carnivorous, certain plants are able to capture small creatures in order to obtain nutrition. Although carnivorous plants are well known for consuming insects, several non-carnivorous species also inadvertently or incidentally capture tiny animals for their own purposes. For instance, certain bromeliads store water in the bases of their leaves, creating tiny ponds that might drown insects or even little frogs. Nutrients from the animal's decomposition seep into the water and are taken up by the plant. Other sticky plants, such as certain wildflowers, catch insects on their surfaces to either decrease herbivory or indirectly increase their nutritional levels rather than directly digesting them. Despite not being actual predators, these plants blur the line to demonstrate how opportunistic they can be. They serve as a reminder that survival tactics are not easily categorized. Even seemingly innocuous plants can subtly profit from the misfortunes of animals that come into contact with them. Some trees have entwined branches that resemble living bridges. People in India's rainforests have figured out how to turn fig trees' aerial roots into living bridges. The roots entwine and merge over decades to create buildings that are sturdy enough for people to walk on. Several of these living bridges are more than 100 feet long, endure for generations, and get stronger with time. Naturally, the trees themselves adjust by establishing new roots that strengthen the framework. These bridges, which represent a partnership between humans and plants, are both living and man-made. To cross one is to enter a structure that is both an organism with biological and cultural roots and an architectural structure. They serve as potent reminders that plants are more than just decorative elements. In almost mystical ways, they can be partners knit into the fabric of human existence. Certain plants have the ability to photosynthesize using their stems rather than their leaves. Although photosynthesis mostly occurs in leaves, some plants completely avoid them. Many plants lose or decrease their leaves in desert conditions in order to conserve water. Rather, they create solar panels out of their green stalks. The most well-known example is cacti, which minimize water loss while capturing sunlight thanks to their thick, ribbed stalks. The same is true of other plants, such as certain euphorbias. Because of their adaptation, they may flourish in conditions where leaves would swiftly wither. Although a cactus may appear leafless and barren to us, every part of its body functions as a photosynthetic organ. It's a sophisticated fix. Replace brittle leaves with robust stems and allow the entire plant to function as a single, enormous leaf. This change demonstrates how plants adapt to harsh environments by coming up with new ways to convert sunlight into life. It can take more than a century for bamboo to blossom. Although bamboo grows quickly, one of nature's rarest occurrences is when it blooms. Only once every 60, 80, or even 120 years do many species blossom. Regardless of geography, entire populations frequently flower simultaneously when the time comes. A weird synchrony that scientists are still trying to figure out. The majority of bamboo dies after flowering, leaving seeds for future generations. Entire ecosystems can be altered by this enormous die-off, which can cause both immediate animal food surpluses and subsequent periods of shortage. Human groups that depend on bamboo may experience disturbances from these cycles. The occurrence is nearly legendary. Plants that wait for a single bloom for decades or even centuries. It is uncommon to see it. a reminder that some natural cycles are much longer than human timescales, which are expressed in centuries rather than years. Certain plants may grow in water or air without the need for soil. Despite the common belief that soil is necessary for plants, several species can survive without it. Orchids and air plants are epiphytes that grow on trees and take up water and nutrients from the rain and atmosphere. Water hyacinths and other plants float freely in aquatic habitats, obtaining all of their necessities straight from the water. These natural methods served as the inspiration for hydroponic farming, which uses nutrient-rich water to grow crops without soil. These plants show that although soil is helpful, it is not absolutely required for survival. Whether it's clinging to bark, floating over ponds, or thriving in artificial systems, they serve as a reminder that life can adapt to any niche. Observing an orchid dangling from a branch or an air plant flourishing without any discernible roots demonstrates the adaptability of the plant kingdom and teaches us that sometimes breaking the norms we take for granted is necessary to survive. Humans cannot see the UV patterns that flowers can make. Many flowers seem to us like mere splashes of color. However, they include UV-painted concealed patterns that pollinators like bees may see. Nectar and pollen are found at the center of the flower, which is where these marks, sometimes known as nectar pointers, point. They serve as landing strips, facilitating precise insect navigation. Various species exhibit distinctive UV patterns that are frequently unnoticeable without the use of specialized filters. For a bee, something that appears simple white or yellow to us may be blazing with contrast. This unnoticed beauty demonstrates how flowers are designed for their pollinators' senses rather than for human admiration. It also serves as a reminder that there are layers of colors and signals in the environment around us that we are unable to see. We are unaware of how stunning a flower meadow may be. Tiny guests are guided in from the air by invisible maps that bring the countryside to life. Some plants have the ability to alter the acidity of the soil in which they are grown. Not all plants adjust to the soil. Through their roots, they occasionally release particular compounds that change it. Some species have the ability to alter the surrounding ground's pH, making it more alkaline or acidic. The host species has a competitive advantage as a result of this capacity, which determines which neighboring plants can develop. For instance, the acidic litter that pines and oaks leave behind reduces the pH of the soil, which benefits species that are suited to such conditions. In order to increase nutrient availability, other plants elevate the pH of the soil. Entire ecosystems are affected by these shifts, which also have an impact on bacteria, fungi, and mammals. There is movement in the soil beneath our feet. The plants that inhabit it continuously change it, a live record of how plants modify their surroundings to meet their needs. The chemical imprint of their growth is present on every forest floor and meadow. Certain trees have the capacity to pump water higher than a building. How tall trees transport water from their roots to their tallest leaves is one of the biggest mysteries in plant biology. Water must ascend more than 300 feet in species like coast redwoods, which are taller than many skyscrapers. The mechanism depends on the pull of evaporation at the leaves and cohesion, which is the propensity of water molecules to adhere to one another. Without pumps or muscles, this produces a constant calm of water that rises against gravity from roots to crown. The achievement is so remarkable that researchers are still figuring out how high water can go. However, woods demonstrate that it occurs flawlessly and silently every day. It is awe-inspiring to observe a living system that is more efficient than any mechanism constructed by humans when you stand beneath a tall tree and realize that every leaf at the top is sipping from the ground below. Fish fertilize plants in forests that are flooded by the Amazon River. Seasonal rains cause the Amazon River to swell annually, flooding enormous tracts of vegetation. Rather than causing damage to the plants, this cycle produces remarkable adaptations. Certain trees, which depend on fish to disperse their seeds, bloom and bear fruit during floods. The fish carry the seeds in their bellies, until they are dropped somewhere else after eating the fruits that fall into the water. Fish serve as dispersers and pollinators in a habitat where forests and water coexist. With tree trunks inundated and animals swimming through the canopy, the flooded forests take on a bizarre appearance. It serves as a striking reminder that plants are not isolated entities. They are intertwined with rivers, climate, and other creatures. Cooperation can take many unexpected forms, as demonstrated by the fact that even the fish in the Amazon assist the trees. Certain plants capture and drown insects with their sticky hairs. Not every plant that traps insects is a genuine carnivore. Some trap tiny insects that fall on their leaves or stems with sticky hairs. The bug may die and degrade after being captured, releasing nutrients into the soil that will indirectly help the plant. In some cases, the hairs discourage herbivores by decreasing the plant's edible qualities. Certain species, such as wild tobacco, use their carcasses as a shield because their sticky hairs catch insects that might otherwise harm the leaves. The line between active feeding and passive defense is blurred by these tactics. They demonstrate how plants use a myriad of survival strategies that combine chance, chemistry, and adhesion. What appears to be a delicate leaf hair could instead be a lethal trap intended to tip the scales against the insect kingdom, rather than immediately benefit the plant. Toxins potent enough to be employed in medications can be produced by plants. Many of the most potent medications in use today started off as plant poisons. Compounds produced by the foxglove plant can treat heart disorders when taken in prescribed dosages. Salicin, aspirin's natural precursor, was found in willow bark. Chemotherapy medications that can save lives were inspired by the rosy periwinkle. These molecules, which are toxic or bitter, originated as defense mechanisms to keep herbivores away. However, people have discovered ways to use them to turn poisons into remedies. This interplay between danger, healing, and dualism demonstrates the intricacy of plant chemistry. Potential medications are hidden in every meadow and forest, just waiting to be found. The next blossom or leaf might contain life-saving chemicals. It is just a form of defense for the plant. It is a possibility to us. Every toxin has a hidden gift inside it, serving as a reminder that the lines between harm and healing are frequently blurred. The distinction between plant and animal life is blurred by certain algae. Although algae and plants are frequently grouped together, certain species defy easy classification. Some algae may move or eat other species, such as animals, in addition to photosynthesizing, which is the process by which plants use sunlight to generate energy. For instance, dinoflagellates are able to hunt and produce their own food. Others share energy by forming symbiotic connections with creatures that live inside sea slugs or corals. These organisms demonstrate how difficult it is to distinguish between plants and animals. Algae are at the intersection of several energy-capturing strategies that evolution has tried. They may appear straightforward to us, but they are among the oldest and most adaptable life forms on the planet. This latent flexibility can be seen while looking inside a droplet of pond water. While life itself defies simple labels, tiny creatures that remind us of categories are human constructs. Trees can outlive civilizations by thousands of years. Certain trees are so old that they existed before whole human societies. In California, bristlecone pines have existed for about 5,000 years. Olive trees, cypress, and sequoias exist as living testimony to millennia of change and are older than the Egyptian pyramids. Their robust wood, moderate growth, and capacity to repair injured tissues all contribute to their lifespan. These trees are more than simply living things. They are archives that document changes in the environment, fires, and droughts in their rings. Standing next to one is like stepping back in time and experiencing the presence of a life that transcends languages and civilizations. They serve as a reminder that patience may be the best survival tactic in the kingdom of plants. Trees silently count in millennia, rooted in situ yet extending indefinitely through time, while humans estimate history in decades. Trees are more resilient than civilizations, with a lifespan of thousands of years. Some trees are so old that they existed before the modern era of human history. In California, for instance, bristlecone pines have survived for almost 5,000 years. Long before the pyramids were constructed, these gnarled survivors emerged, enduring ages of change, droughts, and storms. Their wood resists decay because it develops slowly and densely, and the core of the tree can be protected by sealing off damaged parts. They provide scientists with a timeline of climate changes spanning thousands of seasons, with each ring in their trunks recording the passage of years. The vastness of time is gently pressed against your skin when you stand next to such a tree. They serve as a reminder that although civilizations come and go, nature endures in peace because it is patient. Trees are more than just historical markers. They are living history, carrying stories from far into the past while continuing to breathe in the present. Some plants react when they detect the scent of pollinators nearby. Despite lacking noses, plants are able to detect fragrance molecules in the atmosphere. Certain species react nearly instantly after detecting the chemicals emitted by incoming pollinators. For example, some flowers detect bee pheromones nearby and produce their own perfumes or increase nectar production. Others change when their blooms open, making sure they are most hospitable just when pollinators are around. Plants can anticipate and adapt to the creatures they depend on thanks to this sensitivity, which is a form of olfactory awareness. Although it appears odd to us, the thought of a flower smelling AB illustrates the extraordinary intricacy of plant senses. Because they can sense signs far beyond our own, plants are always communicating with their surroundings. We might not even be aware of it when we stroll through a garden, yet the plants may already be reacting to us in subtle ways, like breath on the wind. To get to the sun, some vines choke whole trees. Not every vine climbs easily. Some, such as strangler figs, start out as small seeds that birds drop onto other trees' branches. The new fig then sends roots down, encircling the host's stem securely. These roots enlarge over decades, suffocating the host tree till its demise. After using its host as scaffolding, the fig stands by itself on a lattice of its own roots. By using this tactic, the vine can avoid the hardship of growing from the dark forest floor and reach sunshine in dense woodlands. A strangler fig serves as a living reminder that plants also face intense competition for existence, combining beauty with ruthlessness. Despite lacking teeth and claws, they employ conquest tactics, applying pressure and patience to gradually change the forest, one tree at a time. A tree that is around 5,000 years old is the oldest known. Methuselah is a tree that grows among California's high mountains. It is thought that the bristlecone pine is about 5,000 years old. It emerged long before agriculture, written language, or the emergence of powerful civilizations. It has gnarled and twisted over time, surviving in severe environments that few other plants can. Extreme weather, weak soils, and cold winds haven't destroyed it. Rather, they have kept it intact, reducing its rate of growth to a crawl. Only the thinnest rings are added annually, creating a robust and solid body. Methuselah is among the oldest living things on the planet. She predates both myth and empires. Its presence humbles us by serving as a reminder that life can exist on timescales that are unimaginable to us. Methuselah is silent as the ages pass under the shadow of its patient branches, while we measure our lives in decades. In boiling hot springs, certain plants can survive. Some plants survive under the worst conditions, where water bubbles and steams at temperatures close to boiling. In geothermal springs, algae and mosses have been observed to flourish where few other organisms would venture. They are able to photosynthesize in liquid worlds that shimmer with steam because their proteins and cell structures are tuned to resist heat that would kill regular plants. From bioengineering to the hunt for extraterrestrial life, these resilient pioneers are researched to gain insights on the possibilities of life. Life may be able to live in similarly harsh environments on other worlds if it can withstand boiling water on Earth. The realization that life's resolve has no bounds comes from witnessing green threads woven through boiling pools. Plants manage to survive in seemingly inhospitable settings, converting heat into habitat. Aquatic plants can float by, using their leaves to catch air bubbles. Remaining afloat can be just as crucial for submerged plants as remaining rooted. Specialized leaves that capture air bubbles have evolved in several aquatic animals. At the water's surface, these pockets support the plant's ascent towards sunlight like miniature life jackets. For instance, lotus leaves stay dry and buoyant above the pond by repelling water and promoting the formation of bubbles. Whole stems of other aquatic plants float because of their spongy tissues, which are filled with air pockets. As a result, there is a fine equilibrium between rising and sinking that is controlled by invisible air pockets. A lily pad floating on a pond seems serene to us. However, the engineering within its tissues is as accurate as that of any vessel. The purpose of this living raft is to keep sunlight above the water. Every floating leaf, which rises on nothing but breath and bubbles, serves as a reminder of the inventiveness of nature. Certain plants have sharp crystals inside their tissues for self-defense. Many leaves have a secret defense buried beneath their softness. In their tissues, certain plants form small calcium oxalate crystals that resemble tiny needles. These crystals irritate, expand, or even burn when an animal bites into the leaf, piercing the delicate tissues of the mouth. The instant and lasting effect deters more feeding. Plants that use this tactic include taro, rhubarb, and dieffenbachia, sometimes known as stupid cane. If consumed raw, they can be harmful to people. However, they serve as armor in nature and are undetectable until they are disturbed. It is astounding to think that a leaf might conceal a forest of tiny daggers. Although they may appear helpless, plants' chemistry and structure frequently provide barriers that are more efficient than bark or thorns. Every nibble represents a risk, serving as a reminder to herbivores that even the most delicate-appearing foliage can defend itself in ways that are invisible. Sometimes, flowers in large areas bloom simultaneously. Blooming is a synchronized event rather than a personal preference in certain species. For instance, some bamboos bloom all at once in whole regions, even if they are hundreds of miles apart. The synchronization, which frequently lasts for decades, takes place on enigmatic internal clocks. The cycle is restarted when the plants die after producing seeds during the full bloom. Animals may have an abundance of food as a result, but when the plants die back, there may be an abrupt shortage. After infrequent showers, other species, such as certain wildflowers in the desert, also bloom simultaneously, illuminating the landscape with stunning bursts of color. These occurrences serve as a reminder that plants have cycles that we hardly notice. Rhythms measured in decades and millennia, rather than hours or seasons. The outcome is magnificent when the time comes. A landscape is changed as though the plants had decided to release their beauty all at once by singing in unison. Certain plants have the ability to retain touch memories for several minutes. Studies have demonstrated that sensitive plants, such as Mimosa pudica, can recall being handled. Their leaves cease to fold in reaction to repeated disturbances, as though the plant has come to believe that the stimulus is innocuous. Furthermore, before fading, this recollection may last for minutes or even hours. It is a physiological method of retaining information rather than memory as animals perceive it. In order to save energy, the plant ignores unneeded signals and modifies its reactions depending on prior experiences. This implies that plants are digesting information subtly rather than just reacting mindlessly. It's amazing to consider that a plant may retain the impression of contact. It obfuscates the distinction between perception and cognition, implying that intelligence can manifest in a variety of ways, some as subtle and verdant as a leaf, retaining the memory of a moment long after it has passed. A single lost branch can completely regenerate some trees. Even a damaged branch is not the end for some trees. A limb can establish roots and become a new tree if it falls to the ground and the appropriate circumstances are met. Banyans, poplars, and willows are well known for their capacity for regeneration. In certain tropical areas, rooted branches that are genetically identical to their parents form entire groves. This ability transforms mishaps into opportunities by guaranteeing survival following storms or destruction. A fallen branch could appear to us like trash. For the tree, it's just another opportunity to live, another step toward the stars. This resilience demonstrates how plants reject fragility as a defining characteristic. They have the capacity to rise again, even in fragments, making it difficult to distinguish between beginning and finish. Plants serve as a reminder of the wonder and fragility of life on Earth. From the tiniest moss to the oldest tree, plants are the epitome of patience, inventiveness, and tenacity. They influence the food we consume, the air we breathe, and the environments we live in. However, they are also susceptible to human activity, illness, fire, and drought. Through clever tactics, chemical defenses, hidden sensors, and incredible adaptations, they have managed to maintain a delicate balance that allows them to survive. We may miss them in their silence, but when we stop, we realize how rich they are. Rain-producing forests, seeds that wait for ages, roots that pierce deeper than structures, and flowers that see and react to their surroundings. Because they incorporate survival into every leaf and root, plants serve as a reminder that life is not only tough, but also incredibly creative. Walking among them serves as a reminder of how amazing, delicate, and intertwined our green world is with our own. Thus, our exploration of the hidden life of plants comes to a conclusion. We have seen that plants are never really silent, from underground whispering roots to trees that outlive civilizations. They are the Earth's timekeepers, chemists of survival, and designers of ecosystems. There are tales of endurance, patience, and silent creativity in every leaf, stem, blossom, and seed. Imagine yourself in a forest at night while you fall asleep. The leaves above are slowly shifting in the chilly breeze. A flower opens in the dark somewhere. In order to rest till morning, a tree lowers its branches. Roots, probing, sensitive and alive, gently reek through the darkness beneath the soil. I appreciate you taking the time to join me in discovering the hidden realm of plants. I encourage you to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and return for the next science and wonder adventure if you liked this one. For now, however, let your body relax, your mind calm, and your breathing slow. You are held motionless by the green world. Get a good night's sleep and dream in the leaves. Good night.